Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. Today I want to give you a couple of tips on how to not freeze when speaking a new language. But before we get into this video, just a quick reminder that I am hosting 2 French retreats this summer in July and in August. So the first one is going to be in Paris, and then the following week we're going to be in the French Riviera. On both retreats in July and in August, we're going to be a week in Paris and a week in the French Riviera. So you can choose between being in Paris or going with us to the French Riviera or both places. So you're going to spend 2 weeks either or a week in France learning French, learning everything about French culture, about how we do things in France. It's going to be co-hosted with a friend of mine who is also in my team now, and she is Parisian. So we're definitely going to be doing typically Parisian things. That is going to be very exciting because you're learning French with local hosts. And that is definitely something that you will not get like that. That is why I'm doing this whole language travel trips, because I always want you guys to experience the culture, immersion, but learn the language, but then also experience the locals, because a lot of people just travel to the country but haven't really experience the locals. A lot of people travel to Paris but then just experience Paris the touristy way and not really how local Parisians experience Paris. So we want you to do that with us. So for any more information on the trip, just click on the link down below, lingotravels.com. Also for signups, everything you need to know about the trip is on the link down below. All right, let's get into this video. So we've all been there. When you study at home or when you learn a language at home on your own, especially when you're learning, you kind of feel sure about yourself. You speak and everything, but then when you actually have to talk to someone, especially to native speakers, you just kind of freeze and block out. Like everything is gone. Everything what you learned is basically gone, and you just stutter and mumble things and don't know what to say, forget words, forget sentence structures, forget everything basically. So this is something I've heard so many times from so many people, that they are learning a language, and when they're learning, when they're studying, they feel kind of pretty sure about themselves that they learn, a lot. But then when they have to speak to native speakers, everything just goes out the window basically, and they forget things, they forget how to say things and feel unsure. So I have a couple of tips about that, on how you can train yourself to avoid those situations and basically not freeze when you have to speak a new language. Of course, that happens to everyone, but the more you train it, the less likely it is going to be happening. All right, so the first tip is to gain confidence. Why do I say confidence as the first one? I've talked about this in so many videos. I think one of my ever first language learning videos, I've talked about that you have to have confidence. And I know that confidence is something that you build up. Not everybody just comes with the confidence to go out and speak to a bunch of people, especially when they're native speakers. People feel more unsure about themselves and they get more anxious when they have to speak to native speakers, because native speakers are, kind of seem like here on top and you seem like here with your language skills, and so people feel more unsure of themselves when they have to speak to native speakers, which is normal. Of course, that happens to everyone. But as a first thing, I want to say gain confidence. And how do you gain confidence? You gain confidence basically by talking to yourself. So talking to yourself first. So whatever you do, basically, when you have confidence in yourself, you're going to be so much better in whatever really you do. And with language learning, it's the same thing. Confidence is so important, because confidence doesn't mean that, you can go out there and speak fluently, don't make any mistakes. Confidence means that you can go out and speak to people or native speakers without being anxious about what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, and without overthinking too much about how you're going to say things or what you're going to say, because the most important thing is that you are saying something in a new language, and that is the only thing that should matter in the beginning. Don't stress about like how you say things, if you say them correctly, if the person you're talking to is going to understand you. So making yourself anxious in so many ways just stops your progress. So how can you feel less anxious? You can feel less anxious by simply practicing with yourself. Take yourself as a language partner. So what I've been doing ever since I've been learning languages, is just talking to myself in whatever language I'm currently learning. I just pick up things and just say them out to myself. I just start dialoguing with myself. It might sound weird in the beginning. For me, it's the most natural thing. I've always been doing it. But for you, if you haven't been doing that, it might seem a little weird to just go about your day and just talk to yourself in a foreign language. But this is something I've heard from every single polyglot. Every single person who has taught themselves a language has been doing that. That is talking to yourself. So this is something that will build up your confidence, and it will boost your confidence. So when you're watching, for example, a series, when you're watching the actors say something, the whole mannerism, the way they say things, everything is particular about that language and is special in that language. So for example, if I'm watching a German series, it's not going to be the same as if I'm watching an Italian series. I can see from the Italian series, or for example, telenovelas. From the telenovelas, you can see they are much more dramatic, and the way the actors speak, they're way more dramatic than, for example, a German series where people are much more neutral, So this is the mannerism, and those are the things that you also pick up along with the language. And those are the things, of course, that are much more exaggerated in movies and series. But those are the things you pick up and you just like imitate them, basically. So you just shadow them, So you see something, you see a scene, and you just talk to yourself, you just shadow it, and this will make you boost your confidence so much. I've been doing that with Italian, and let me tell you, like, I've been watching so many Italian series and movies. I think I watched everything on Netflix up until now. So I've been watching them, and everything that people say that sticks out to me, I just go out like about my day, do things, but then I repeat to myself and make up different scenes, repeat different scenes, the way people said things, So with that, the more you do that, the more you gain confidence in actually speaking. And it's also important to hear yourself speak, as I said also. And one thing also you can do is stand in front of the mirror. When you're standing in front of a mirror, you're just watching yourself speak, and like that you can also invent more dialogues or real life situations, And I've been doing that, for example, not even really inventing, but making up real life situations with the things I've been learning from watching series. So, signore, per favore, I don't know. So something you've been listening to, you just make it up with another situation. So you go and just do that. And with that, you gain so much confidence that when you actually have to use the language, you're pretty much ready to use it, because those are things you have, gone through your mind so many times, and situations you have kind of rehearsed to yourself, that you're kind of ready. You're not just standing there. For example, if someone is like, hola, ¿qué tal? You're not just standing there like, but bien, ¿y tú? Because you have been watching so many scenes where people go through that real life situation of greeting, so you know exactly what to say. And that is basically it. One thing I can also say with that is to simply memorize dialogues, memorize movie scenes, scenes in series, memorize sentences you hear in songs, for example. So the more you memorize things, also the more sure you are going to be about yourself when you have to speak the language and when you have to apply it, use it with, for example, native speakers, you know. And with that said, also, if you're talking to native speakers, sometimes you might not even understand what they're saying. Learn phrases, filler phrases, and filler words to ask. For example, excuse me, what did you say? Or excuse me, come again. You know, learn those basic common phrases that you ask someone when you don't understand what they're saying, or when you haven't heard what they're saying, haven't picked up what they were meaning. You know, learn those common phrases like in English. So for example, excuse me, can you repeat please? What did you say? Those common phrases will get you so far. So if you don't understand what people say, and if you freeze, if you don't know how to say things, just simply learn those phrases so the person you're talking to can help you out actually and remind you. For example, if you can say perdona, ¿cómo se dice? So like, excuse me, like how do you say, you know, a word that you forgot, and you're just like, perdona, ¿cómo se dice? If you know that phrase, you can go everywhere basically in the world where Spanish is spoken, and people will help you out. So there is no need in being anxious basically, because you will always kind of know what to say. Even if you don't remember words, certain words or sentences, those sentences are just basic sentences that you will always remember. So like, how do you say this is basic? So learn those basic sentences that you can always ask. That is something I've also always done. So whenever I don't know a word in a foreign language, it happens to me as well. I will just ask the person I'm talking to, or I would just describe my way around it, and I would just say, how do you say? You know, I would just ask that. So that is simple. That is nothing like difficult to learn. Those are the basic sentences, as I said, that you should learn right from the beginning, you know. So you will always have something to lean on when you feel like you're freezing and you don't know what to say. And of course, last but not least, repetition. I said this also in my last video. I've said it also in so many other videos, that repetition is really key. The more you repeat things out loud to yourself, the more confident you will actually get, and the less likely you are going to freeze when you have to use the language. So repeating out things a lot just makes you more sure of yourself and just gets you, you know, ready when you have to use a language. So the things I've been saying to myself over and over again, I will not forget them, because I've been hearing them in the movies and series and everything I've been watching and listening to. I've been hearing them so many times. So when I have to speak to a native speaker, I will just simply repeat out what I've been hearing. And you know, that is something that I will not forget, because I've been repeating it so many times to myself. It's like you're memorizing things, you're repeating things, and like that, you're less likely to just simply forget and just freeze and block out. This is definitely a step to take if you don't want to freeze when speaking a new language. I would say this is one of the most important steps, repetition. Repetition makes you gain confidence actually and be sure of yourself. It's like when you're having a test in school. If you haven't studied, you will not be sure and like confident of yourself that you're going to make it. But the more you have studied, that means like repetition, you will, the more sure you will be about yourself that you're going to get a good grade, you know. So that is also the same thing with language learning. The more you repeat things to yourself, the more sure and confident you will be when you actually have to speak to someone and use the language. So, all right, those were the tips. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments below if you have any more tips. Of course, there's so many more, but for this video, those were the tips. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.